Hello, can you all hear me? Great. I haven't got any stickers, so... right, so as Carl has been explaining how important UX is and the consistency in your social system to drive engagement, I'm going to be looking at the technical side of things and how innovation in technology can add things into the mix and help drive the social system. One thing that Carl mentioned towards the end of his talk was that he's always looking outside into the consumer space for technical innovation, the things that are happening. You mentioned the mind meld application, which is really interesting. But actually, in the last couple of years, learning technology has been innovating rapidly. And one of the most exciting things that we've discovered, and you've probably all heard of it, is the Tin Can API. Now, you've probably all heard the hype about the Tin Can API. It was released about a year ago. It promised big, big things. It's going to change the world of e-learning. We're going to get loads of big data back, etc., etc. But it's really easy to get overwhelmed by the big picture stuff like that. So I think it's worth pointing out that the Tin Can API is actually at its heart a very, very simple tool. And it allows us basically to capture learning experiences from any device, anytime. We've got an example here on the screen of a Tin Can API statement, if you can all read it. We've got Meg Green. She has experienced a TED Talk video on the 8 secrets of success. And that's basically what the Tin Can does. It allows us to capture that information. At Brightwave, we've been messing around with social learning systems for a number of years now, but we've always felt a little bit uncomfortable about it. We haven't had the spark that we thought was going to work within a business, and I think Carl's stats show that there's some problems in social media at work, so that 80% of the systems aren't achieving their benefits. So we were always a bit nervous. We've got an LMS. We could have easily whacked on a forum onto the side of it and called it a social learning platform, but LMSs tend to be things that people don't want to go to. So sticking a social system on the side of it isn't really going to add much. So when the Tin Can came out, this really sparked our thinking, and it allowed us to finally come up with a model that we thought would work, allowing the capturing of informal learning experiences to help drive the social system. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk you through the Tin Can API and how it fits into Tesla, and how we've built a social system around this one simple concept of capturing informal learning experiences. So in Tesla, we've got a number of ways of capturing these learning experiences. We've got an iOS app, an Android app, there's a browser bookmarker, and they're all designed to do one thing, and it's capture these learning experiences as easily as possible as the learner's having them, rather than someone just watching a video on something and then forgetting about it and no one benefiting from that. We've built tools to enable learners to easily capture that information. So, for example, with the mobile apps, you could be on the train reading a book about something really important to your work. You could get to the end of the book and finish it. The apps allow you to just scan the book. Scan the barcode on the book, it picks up all the information, it then saves the information back to Tesla through the Tin Can API. It could be that you're attending a seminar like this. There could be a QR code scattered about. I don't know if there are at this event, but you can scan the QR code. Again, it registers that you've been on that event. The bookmark is slightly different. That's where you could be at home, surfing the internet at night. You could stumble across something really interesting that's helped you out. So if we take our TED Talk video that we were just talking about in the previous slide, I could have just watched that. And all I need to do to save that back to Tesla is just push the Save Experience button at the top. Now, it's important to note that you don't have to be anywhere near Tesla to do this. You don't have to be logged in, you just need to push the button. It's a fire and forget thing. But at this point, we've just captured learning experiences. Great. So how does that then move on to driving a social system? So when you capture a learning experience in Tesla, they're your learning experiences at that point. You can keep a log of them. But what helps drive the social system is the ability to then share those learning experiences with the rest of the community. So in Tesla, we've got at the top there a big share button. You click that, and then your learning experiences goes from being your own to being able in the community. And then once it's in the community, other learners on this platform can then start benefiting from it. They can use the same resource. They can go off and watch the video that we've been talking about. If they like it, they can comment on it. They can vote on it. And as Carl was saying, you get the natural ecosystem in the social system is that people then like things, they vote things, they're popular, but they're popular only for a moment of time. And the tricky thing is how do you then pick up that video that everyone's talking about at that particular moment and then make it available to everybody, so if they come on in a week, they come on in a month, they're still going to access that without having to sift through the social feed of things. And that's where the role of the curator comes in. So in Tesla, the role of the curator is the subject matter expert, the person working for the business to ensure that the platform has got the best resources on it. And the curator is responsible for looking through the social feeds, looking at what's popular, what people are liking, and differentiating between, say, someone who's liked a cat video and shared a video of a cat doing something funny to a TED Talk, something like that. The TED Talk is really useful to the rest of the organisation, and we don't want it to get lost. So the curator simply clicks on the curate button. They can then turn that learning experience into a resource underneath a subject matter tile. So we'll put it in motivate and inspire, and we've got our video here going from the experience into something there. So when the learners come in the next time, they can then access that. They don't have to search through things. And this cycle goes round and round and round. So we've got the tin can API at the top, capturing the learning experiences. Then you share it, people discuss, they get access to it, they get benefit from it. The curator then picks up the best stuff, curates that into a separate area where everybody knows that's the stuff that they should be doing, that's the great stuff on the system. And it goes round and round and round, getting better and better each time you go through the loop. But that's a tin can API. That solves the capture problem. But what about the motivation? So what could we add to this loop to make it stronger? How are we going to motivate users to get through it? And another emerging technology that's come in the learning industry is the Mozilla Open Badges initiative. This again has big ideals. It's backed by a big company, Mozilla, and it's having some good early success. Again, it's very simple. It's essentially a digital certificate that you can then share outside of where you got it. So for example, I could have done 10 learning experiences on leadership skills or something like that. I could have passed an assessment at the end of it. At that point, I could get a certificate inside the business. It wouldn't mean much. What Open Badges does is it creates a digital certificate that you can then show off outside. So that ability to get recognition for your achievements adds extra motivation for the learner. So if we go back to our social system we've just described, if you've got extra motivation for the learners to capture more data because they're going to get these digital certificates, the Open Badge, they're going to capture more, they're going to share more, and they're going to create more, driving the system round and round, getting better and better and better each time through. So I'm just going to summarise with the key points we've discussed today. It's just how technology can help these things. So we've got the tin can API with the capture, we've got the sharing in Tesla happening, and then the critical bit, which then turns just a social feed into something genuinely useful for the business, is the curation process. And we have the Open Badges adding the extra motivation through the system. This is where we are right now, but who knows, there's many more technologies out there. Carl was talking about this mind meld thing, which sounds really interesting. I'm sure there's going to be more that can help us drive the users through this system. If you've got any questions, Charles is just going to come up. But if you'd like to see more of Tesla, just please pop over to the stand and I'll be happy to take any questions or show you through it.
Thank you very much, John. It strikes me that there are a couple of interesting things that we can use to perhaps make slightly more formal a social learning platform for work. So one would be the sort of expert curation process, and then the other is sort of slightly more formal recognition through badges or points. I just want to go back to the question earlier, actually, which is around the multitude of different platforms that people at work have to use. And you mentioned that Brightwave has an LMS. Tesla is a slightly different platform. How can social learning platforms work with a learning management system? I think that would be a question a lot of people have. Okay,
so usually you've got your LMS. It's usually a big thing. There's usually thousands and thousands of things on there. They're usually quite hard to find stuff. You can pick out some of the best things that are perhaps related to the subject matter of the Tesla site that you've got. And you can either put those LMS resources in Tesla, there's a SCORM interface within Tesla, or you can hook it up through an API to launch it on the remote LMS. So we've got examples of that with our clients at the moment where you click on the resource within Tesla that the curator's put there, and then it actually launches it on the main LMS. And the user doesn't have to log in, it single signs them on, and things like that.
Okay. And then, do you see any other sort of features apart from, for example, badges that we might see enhancing motivation to use these platforms in future on the horizon?
Well, within Tesla we've got this idea of reputation points, where each positive action that the user does, or the learner does, gives them some reputation points. And those reputation points are publicly available. So it's another form of recognition within the social system, that as you do more things, as you share more things, as your resources get curated, you get more and more positive points for it, and your reputation grows within the system.
Thank you. I think we might have time for one question from the audience, if there are any. Would anyone like to ask John a question before we move on? Okay. Right. If we could swap over the microphones, and I can we move naturally now from your first session, which was around, what can we learn from the kind of consumer social technologies that we're all familiar with, how that's now starting to be transferred into the world of work and the slightly different technologies that are available to us. And then our final speaker is going to talk about how it's actually being used in his organisation. So I'm going to hand over to Drew, who's going to talk about his experiences using Tesla at KPMG. Over to you.
Thank you, Charles. And thank you, John and Carl, for sharing your interesting insight this morning. So, my name is Drew Clare. I'm Head of Learning Technology at KPMG for the EMEA region. My main role is deploying learning technologies, LMSs, virtual classrooms, mobile learning, social media. More recently, change management has become a much bigger part of my role. To set the scene, my colleague Nicole Wetzel, she's based in Munich in Germany. She's the Program Director for the Primary Central Masterclass, or PEM for short. Now, PEM is a face-to-face international partner development program. It's been running for around 4 years.
Sorry to interrupt you. I think it may be that you're not being heard, perhaps because the microphone isn't coming round enough. Would you like to use? Would it be all right for you to use this one instead?
Yeah, sure.
Is this a bit louder for anyone? This one, yeah. I hope it didn't mean to knock you off your stride.
Is that better? Is that better? Okay. So PEM has been running for 4 years. It runs over an 18-month period. There are multiple cohorts. Each cohort meets 4 times a year. Last year we launched PEM Online to over 400 of our PEM participants across 20 countries in the EMEA region. We used, as Charles said, Brightwave's Tesla product to do that. So when asked to speak at a conference, I thought, what can I speak about? What can I really share in this social media conversation? Well, I wanted to speak about what made PEM Online a successful project over and above having a good user interface and good user experience. And that success for me came from having a distinct change management stream to our project. So my interest in change management developed 2 or 3 years ago, where we deployed a global virtual classroom. Our first global technology, quite a large project. We treated it very much like a technology deployment. Unfortunately, we didn't take into account the challenges that the technology and the new way of learning would bring to our organisation. So we threw open our virtual classroom doors and expected everybody to come rushing in. Unfortunately, the truth was a bit different. So when we looked at PEM and we reflected on the virtual classroom project, there were a few areas that we wanted to focus at to really try and improve. Those areas being the business requirements, doing it for the right reason. A vision, giving something that people can buy into, something they can really believe in as to why are they using this platform. Support, helping them support themselves when they're using it. Behaviours, us understanding what they are supposed to do with the platform and for them to understand that as well. And a success criteria. So how would we know that we had been successful at the end of the project? So as Carla said, getting a good user interface and user experience depends on the quality of your design. And so picking the right solution depends very much on the quality of your business requirements. Your business requirements should really be your decision drivers. So for PEM, our business requirements are very simple. They just said to us, make PEM online. Now at this conference, there are at least 20 ways that you can do that. We needed a bit more direction. That was too open-ended for us. We went back to our stakeholders and said, can we have a better steer? It's too open. And they said, you've just deployed virtual classroom, make it a virtual program. Okay, this was better. My colleague Nicole, she didn't like the idea of a virtual program. It didn't sit right with her. So we took some time, about 2 months in total, to really understand what PEM was all about. And it was all about getting people face-to-face, breaking down barriers, both professional and personal, and getting them to think differently. A virtual program wasn't going to deliver that for us. We then settled on a social media solution. We felt it would be better. It would allow our people to connect, to collaborate, and to coach each other. And those were key requirements of the program. Once we settled on a social media solution, I went to onlineŠ over in Berlin. I met Charles there. Charles said, Drew, come to Learning Tech. We've got something we're unveiling. This was last January. We found 2 vendors here, and we invited both to tender. Brightwave was successful, and we went forward to deployment with them. But getting those business requirements correct before we met the vendors was absolutely paramount. So alongside our business requirements, we created a vision for PEM Online. And as I was putting the slides together, I thought we had a very grand vision. I'll try and dig it out. I'll give you just a few seconds to read through that. It wasn't quite as grand as I remembered. In fact, it seemed quite short, but it is actually succinct, it's clear, and it spells out exactly what we wanted our platform to do and what we wanted it to achieve. So once we had our vision, we needed to communicate it, and we communicated it across every channel that we had available to us. Conference calls, WebExes, live meetings, in face-to-face discussions with our faculty. We really shared our vision with them. And we didn't just share it once. We shared it for the entire length of the project, over and over and over again. We didn't vary it, and we didn't dilute it. We stayed true to our original purpose. We did have a couple of tough cases. We demoed Tesla last summer to our faculty group. One faculty in particular, Amanda, she said, I can see the benefits, I can see the value that this will bring to the program. I think it looks amazing. We just don't have anything like this at KPMG. But I'm not going to use it. I don't like social media. I don't like technology. It doesn't like me. And I don't have a Facebook account. So it's just not for me. I'm sure you can imagine how that made us feel. We were absolutely mortified. What were we going to do? We had to have this group engaged and supportive of what we were trying to achieve. So, to overcome our faculty frustrations, we decided to gate crash their faculty day. Now, faculty day for PEM is one day in the year when they all get together from across the region, review previous year's program and plan for the next. This year we turned up with our laptop projector, we threw PEM up on the wall and told them to pull out the device they had in their pocket or their handbag. We had a mixture of iPhones, iPads, laptops. We told them to log in, and for the next 2 hours we took them through every screen and every behaviour step by step until they knew exactly what they had to do and how they had to behave within the platform. I appreciate getting people together for a face-to-face session is not practical. You'll have people geographically spread, but for us, it made a huge difference to the support and engagement that we got. And Amanda, our technophobe from earlier on, I'm really proud to say that she became our greatest advocate, our greatest supporter. I have a memory of her surrounded by her colleagues, and she is talking them through how to install the app, how to share videos, how to post comments. She really did have a 180-degree turnaround. So once they left faculty day, we gave them a 20-minute quick start guide so they could repeat the process with their own groups back on their programs. We also trained up all of the IT help desks across the 20 countries so that we could minimize any barriers or hurdles that prevented people getting onto PEM. So all of the cloud-based issues that you normally find, we mitigated any aspect of that occurring. So in order to get that success, we ensured that we understood our audience and the behaviours they needed to exhibit for the platform to be successful. We did that by looking at the feedback that we had got from PEM in the original project. We looked at the areas they were having trouble with, and we based our behaviours on these. So connecting people was a big challenge. How do you keep people connected over 18 months when they're only together 4 times in that period? The faculty need to coach. Difficult to do that over an 18-month period when you're not seeing them every day. Sharing. I have to teach my kids to share constantly, and it's the same with adults. You need to teach them to share experiences and share their knowledge. PEM has a huge amount of course materials too, and we wanted to get the best from those materials. So using these as our starting points for behaviours, we made sure that we then understood our audiences. Were they faculty, participants, or administrators? We mapped audience to behaviour a number of times in a very long, detailed process, so we could actually role model every behaviour for every audience and understood, almost guarantee, that we would get what we wanted at the end of that process. So, when Nicole and I debriefed faculty day, my first words to Nicole were, oh my God, they were over-engaged. We had actually lost control of our faculty group on faculty day. We set them up, we got them going, and they actually ran riot. We couldn't control them, they were over-engaged. We had exceeded our expectations of success. The criteria we'd given ourselves were having their faculty engaged, supportive, and able to use the platform to their full ability. They totally blew us away. The other criteria we had was to meet our original business requirements. The long list that we'd given Charles and the other vendors, did it tick every box that we needed it to tick? And I'm very happy to say that it did. So looking back on PEM, what made it a success? I believe it was successful because we checked and we challenged the need we got from our stakeholders and we validated it with them. We were successful because we chose an innovative and user-centric technology that people were excited to use. They wanted to engage with it. And I think we were successful because we defined and we planned the behaviours that we wanted to see within the platform. And that's how we deployed a successful social media platform at KPMG.
Drew, thank you very much. It's really interesting to hear how you almost treated this as a change management program and put a lot of effort into getting it all set up. But once you got people engaged with it, they ran riot, as you say.
They did.
It's interesting you used a couple of times the phrase you lost control, but I suppose in a way that was part of the success of it. You didn't actually have to control it.
That's right. I mean, we tried to structure our faculty day so we could walk them through every step. But once they got access and they were downloading the app, they were all at different stages of engagement. So it was difficult to manage, but actually it showed how engaged and supportive they were.
You've got 5 points there that you've mentioned. I mean, out of those, which one, if you had to pick, do you think is the most important factor?
I think behaviour is the key one for me. Knowing what you want them to do once you've got them in there, for me, is a key piece. Without it, you'll never get the outcome you want unless you know what you want them to do with it.
And I know that within the organisation, your other communities and groups are going to be taking on a similar platform. If you were doing this again, would there be anything that you do differently? Any lessons that you would want to add to what you've already said to share with the audience here?
Just, I think, ensuring that we had the change management stream running alongside the project. You can deploy technology fairly simply, but getting the most from it, getting the most of your return on investment, getting the most for your people, I think is now critical. You can't just invest and hope that they will come along and use it. You need to consider why they're using it, what you want them to do with it, and constantly measure that throughout the project and its use as well.
Great. Well, listen, we're coming up towards the end of our time, but if there are some questions either for Drew or indeed any of the other speakers, do raise your hand now and I can share the microphone with you. It would be someone right at the back. Well, you could. Is there a mic that you can hand to him? No. Come up.
Sorry. Yeah, that was really interesting. How many users do you support at the moment? And how long per week do you think each user spends interacting with the content, either posting or reading content?
That's a good question. I actually haven't checked the stats for that. We launched to 400 initially. We've had about 200, I think, go through.
Yeah. Does anyone else have a question for any of the speakers? Yes.
Hi, you talked about they ran riot. How did you control them, or did you just let them run riot? What was the after effects of that?
We actually let them run riot. Because for us, our partnership are highly intelligent, highly motivated. They're the people who run the organisation. So to get them all in a room at the same time is difficult, especially when they come across quite a big region. So we didn't want to put the brakes on and stop them, keep stopping them, say, no, come back a few steps. So we just let them go. And to have Amanda actually providing support that we would have been given was actually a much better, because they'll take better guidance from their colleague than they will from us. So it was the best outcome for us.
Yeah, I suppose with a group of senior people like that, they're not going to be easily told what to do, are they? But did you have any problems at all, or could you foresee any problems by just allowing that sort of anarchy online?
I think, yeah, it could have obviously gone horribly wrong, but we had a small contained group, and it actually was the best outcome we got in the end.
I think it's also fair to say that the system allows anyone to report something that may be inappropriate, as you would expect, and then a moderator can
Yes,
uphold that or not?
From a moderation perspective, as part of the sign-up process, we have global guidelines about how to behave in the social media space, and we made sure that all of them basically read and agreed to the terms of use before being allowed loose on the platform. So we kind of guaranteed good behaviour, but we wanted them to run riot with the technology.
Yep. Fascinating. Any other questions from the floor? Oh.
How did you get your early adopters to engage, those first few people using this platform?
Those were the faculty group. They were our super users. They were the first people to be let loose on it. And they had to be the first ones because they are using it to deliver the program for all the cohorts in the rest of the program. So they were first wave.
So they were pretty key then, really, to their later
Pivotal
success. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, well, I'm going to thank our three speakers. There will be opportunities to ask them one-to-one questions. I think they're all going to hang around for a bit, and they'll be on the stand just here if you'd like to continue the conversation or ask any specific questions. But once again, Carl, Jonathan and Drew, thank you very much.